I am so excited to share with you guys my DIY pallet wall. This was made with 100% recycled pallets, and what I love about this wall is that you can do it any way that you want. You can do it painted, you can do it rustic. I did a painted look for my beach cottage house, and I did this all for under $30. So let me show you how to do your own pallet wall. Okay guys, so this is the wall that we're going to be doing the pallet wall on. We painted all of the other walls in the room except for this wall because I am doing a whitewashed wall. Now if you're doing a darker wood wall, you might want to paint it a color brown because the little cracks in between the boards are going to show through. So we didn't mind that it is this color because our wood is going to be very light. So note to self. So first we're going to be making a frame, and we bought these little pieces of wood to make our frame so that we could attach these to the wall and then all of our pallet wood onto these so that we don't have a million bajillion holes in our wall. Oh, 3/8 by 8 foot tall. So just kind of smaller pieces of wood that we could create a little frame out of, and our ceilings I think are about 8 feet tall, so we are going to be cutting them right now to make sure that the measurements are perfect. So he's just going to measure them to make sure that they're flush with our little ceiling right there, and then to the bottom of the baseboard because we don't want to go over the baseboard. To the top of the baseboard, correction. We don't want to be going past the baseboard, so just going to measure up just like that and it'll fit perfectly. Bella's guarding the wood outside so nobody takes it. Huh, Bella? Yeah!
So honey, right now we're just going to attach these 1x to the wall using a 1.5 inch screw. Since this is stucco, normally you want to attach to the joist or use a sheetrock screw.
So we put this first initial one up, and then using a level, we set the level right against it to make sure that each board is going to be properly on the wall. So that way we don't have to go through and actually measure like numbers on the top of the ceiling. We can just use this little bubble right here to make sure that it's nice and straight. We're measuring every single foot is where we're going to put another piece of our frame. So Shane is just going through and measuring out a foot on the bottom of the entire wall. When working around window frames like this, we just went and measured the space between the baseboard and then the window frame and cut out the pieces for those on the bottom and then the ones on the top as well. So now we have the entire wall framed out. You guys can see it's pretty easy. We're just putting these right along so that when we do our pallets, it is easy to put the pallet wood onto the wall and there's way less screws going on. And then this is just right around our window framing, and Bella's barking at someone outside. So there are a few different tools that you guys can use to disassemble your pallets. You can either use a crowbar and a hammer. If you don't have one of these saws available, this is just going to take a little bit longer and a little bit more muscle. Or you can use one of these special saws. My husband just informed me this is called a sawzall. You know, I'm not a girl that keeps all these tools in her thing. I have him for all these tools. So we're going to be using this option because it's going to be much faster. So another reason why we're using a sawzall that my husband is holding is because I want to be able to leave the nail heads in. I think they look super cool. So this is going to be able to keep it all in one and then just get the end of the nail off. So go ahead, honey. Definitely want to do this project when you're taking apart pallets with the sawzall because a hammer would just be kind of ridiculous because it takes way too long. We did about 6 pallets and that is what completed our wall when we had a few boards left over. I recommend using a sawzall or a crowbar. Would you rather use a crowbar or a sawzall? Sawzall. So we organized all of the wood by size. So they're all the same sizes going together because when we put them up on the wall, each line has to be the same exact size. So you can either leave your wood like this if you guys want to do like a super rustic look. We're actually going to be whitewashing all of our wood to make it a little bit more beachy. We're going to be using a air finish nail gun. This is just what my husband uses, and we're going to be putting little tiny small nails. These ones are the DeWalt 1 inch. They're the brad nails, so they look just something like this, and that's what we're going to be using to put all the pieces of wood in with.
So if you don't have a nail gun, you could just get a pack of small, like 1-inch nails and get a good old hammer and have fun.
So to begin the first one, we're going to start from the bottom to the top, and we're just lining this up to where it sits right on top of the bottom of that baseboard. So sitting right on top of that baseboard. And we're going to use a level to make sure that it is exactly perfect and straight. And then we'll just use our nail gun to nail it against that little frame that we first put in. As you guys can see, we are lining up all of our boards in kind of a different pattern. You don't want all of your boards to stop and end at the same place because we want it to be very not so symmetrical looking. So we're placing the boards at different lengths all over, and I'm normally working from the left side to the right just because it's a little bit easier to do that. And just making sure that we're going right around the framing of the window and making sure that that's even and lined up and building it all the way towards the top. Will you look at the screen and see if it's recording?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, just scratched my butt.
Hey people, you just saw that.
Alright, we are putting up the last board.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
So if it falls down on us tonight, it's your fault.
If we have an earthquake, it's my fault. It's also a good idea to go through and vacuum the boards to get any fallen debris or rest of like the wood particles that are going to fall off of the boards. Alright, so we are painting the wall. I'm going to be doing a whitewash painting. I'm doing mostly white, but then I also have some turquoise in here, and this is actually turquoise left over from my previous walls. So how you whitewash is you're going to take 1 part of any paint to 1 part water. You take this rag, you can dip it in some water, and then put it on your wood like so. So I'm just going to dip it, get it kind of wet. And then anytime that you're going to go paint, so I've already tested it on this piece of wood and it really soaked it in. So if I need to add some water to that piece of wood, and then I can grab my paint and it's just going to go on there so much easier and it's not going to get completely soaked in. And we're going to be doing each board by itself. So when you go in and do a board, you want to do the entire board because then you're going to go and wipe it down with a rag. So I'm going to go through and I'm actually painting this board part turquoise and then part white, and then I will be wiping it down. Okay, so for my paint, I'm just using this Bare Premium Plus. This is the paint and primer in one. I got eggshell. It doesn't really matter what finish it is. I'm going for more of an eggshell versus a gloss because I don't want my boards to look glossy. I want them to look vintage and matte. So I'm going to do 1 part of paint. I'm not going to mix too much, but I'm going to do 1 part of paint, part water. So I just have a little thing of water right here, and I'm going to eyeball it and then mix it around with my paintbrush. So now that we have all of our paint mixed, we're just going to test it on the board. And I recommend testing it in a spot that you don't see. So like behind here is behind my bed. So I'm going to test it on here before I go and put it everywhere else. And then grabbing your damp rag, you're going to rub it. Going to work it into the wood and make it really whitewashed. And then you want to let it dry so that you can test and see and make sure that this is a good amount of paint versus water. Like I see here, this is the perfect amount of turquoise for me because I really don't want to add a ton. I just want it to be very subtle. My mom helped me paint this wall, and we just went through and painted random boards. That way some boards would be a little bit more whitewashed and others would be a little bit more opaque. Alright guys, so I just finished the wall and I am so excited. It looks absolutely amazing. Don't mind the mess over here. I still need to organize everything, but I love the way that the white wall finished. It just looks so good. Let me get you guys a close-up. So I did some of my pieces the turquoisey soft blue and the rest white, and because there's different wood finishes and different wood colors, it just gave it this really beautiful contrast of all of the different planks, and I love all the nail holes and everything. It gives it this beautiful, just kind of weathered beach cottage look. And that is the finished look. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know I'm not normally a DIY person, but this project was so much fun and I knew that I would get some questions on it, so maybe you guys can make your own pallet wall. If you do, be sure to tag me on Instagram if you post a picture, and check out some of my other tutorials, and I'll see you guys in my next video.